Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the ASL. This is it, boys. The final match in the round of 8, Soulkey versus Rush. This is the one we've been waiting for. We got to see our champion, 3-time ASL champion, play today. His opponent, Rush, who took out Hero, the second best Zerg in the world, in the previous round. How is he going to perform today? Will he be able to put some score up on the board against Soulkey? Will he actually be able to take a win? That's a hard sell. I'm sure that if there was a sports betting category or some sort of, over-under on whether Rush will be winning this, I bet it's going to be a low percentage, but there's still that chance.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the match history between these two guys, I'd put it somewhere at about 25%. So yeah, like a kind of 1 to 3 at the very best, probably here for Rush. He did come second in ASL season 12 and season 14, so he has broken through before and gotten all the way to that finals. Can he do it again? I mean, this is going to be a really tough road for him, but maybe he can do it. I wouldn't put many Terrans on this planet in able to beat Soulkey, but I mean, Light and Rush, probably one of the only two guys that could do it today. So I definitely think there's going to be a strong showing from Rush almost no matter what happens. I do still predict a Soulkey victory, either a 4-1 or a 4-2, I think is most likely here, just based on their previous statistics and where they are at skill-wise. But anything can happen. Rush is a kind of crazy guy. He's not afraid to just suddenly make a bunch of drop ships and go like full roulette wheel style and just try and gamble on doing as much damage as possible and creating absolute chaos to then create himself a ladder to then climb to his victories. So I definitely think there's a chance here for Rush to take down Soulkey.
I've never bet on a StarCraft game in my life, but I probably wouldn't put any money on Rush myself. Soulkey is just in such a great dominant form. It's not that I don't think there's any chance of him winning here, but it's going to be really, really tough. If he takes out Soulkey, though, I would love to see it. If he makes it through into the semifinals, I think Snow beats him there. That's a really good run for Snow then. If Rush is able to take out Soulkey here, nobody would be happier about that than Snow.
Oh, you better believe it. Snow is just praying right now, rooting for Rush. He's never rooted as hard for a Terran player as he is today, because if somehow Rush does beat Soulkey, that completely changes the dynamic of this last semifinals bracket, and we could be seeing a Snow victory overall. I still think someone like Snow has a chance at taking down Soulkey, but it is a very low percentage, somewhere in that sort of 10, 20, 30% range, probably of how he's been performing recently, closer to 20-30%. He has improved a lot in his Protoss versus Zerg. Rush similarly probably has around about a 20-30% chance, depending on how well he's performing on any given day. So I still think there's a fighting chance here.
We got our boys on stage now. This just kind of reminds me of last season, Sharp versus Soulkey, and how dominant Soulkey was looking there. Just his understanding, his game knowledge in ZVT is kind of unparalleled. He understands deeper and more thoroughly than basically anybody else in the scene. It's kind of like Flash, except with Flash, TVT was his best matchup here. Soulkey playing Zerg. ZVZ is the matchup he's trying to avoid. He's managed to avoid it so far, so I think he has a very good chance of making it all the way through.
Oh, absolutely. Soulkey's just such an animal that I imagine no matter what we see here today, we're going to be taking notes and be like, oh, that's how you're supposed to play on this map against Terran. He's just that good in his preparation and his thought process. And he's picked Metropolis for map number 1. That's going to be really interesting to see if he's got any kind of shenanigans prepared for that. You can do slow drops into the main. You can still just play a normal macro game on that map as well. So there might just be some psychological mind games coming out from him. Soulkey's so good at mind games in general. He doesn't need to cheese you. He could just make you think that it's coming.
He's absolutely capable of doing every single cheese under the sun in his series versus Snow. Both the last couple of years, he took him out in an incredible fashion. So I'm sure that Snow is really hoping that he doesn't have to face Soulkey again here in the semifinals. He's already secured his spot for the seed into next season, but he'd really like to go further. Soulkey going to be standing in his way unless Rush can do something about it. I'm going to be hoping for a Rush victory here, or at least him to take a few games off. I want to see a great series either way, Xun.
Yeah, I would love to see somehow an upset occur today and Soulkey being dismantled as the champion at some point in this tournament. If now more than ever would be great, because then we'll have a pretty interesting finals, semi-finals to go through. However, I don't necessarily think that will transpire. I'm just rooting for a game 7 to be played, or at least a game 6. I want the series to go as deep as possible so we can see more from these two guys, even if it is going to be a Soulkey victory in the end.
Well, map number 5 is going to be Death Valley. So as long as Rush gets one victory, at least we'll see that map. That's, I mean, we've already seen some great ideas on that. Both Rain pulling out Arbiter play and Best pulling it out in 2 different matchups that you never see Arbiters in. Such an interesting map that we have in that Death Valley.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the best spicy maps we've had in a long time. We've talked about it before, how we've had some very strange maps that didn't really quite fit the mold in recent times. But now the map makers are really starting to dial in just how creative they can be without, creating absolute monstrosities. There's not too many mutations in these maps, so definitely can create an evolution of styles to keep things fresh and keep things interesting in the ASL. I'm all about it. I really do love Metropolis and Death Valley. I think they're great additions for this season.
Yeah, they've been fantastic so far, and continue to see them get played over and over, get a better sense of the range of play for these pros players on these crazy maps. Now, starting off with Metropolis, what kind of game plan do you think Soulkey's going to go for on Metropolis? It's such an interesting map, and it is really location dependent, really is spawn dependent on what you can kind of do here. But what's your feeling on that map? Because it does seem a little bit difficult to just expand normally. Like, not a lot of Zerg players are able to just get that 4th base, transition into a 4-base economy and go straight into ultras. What do you think?
Yeah, it depends on how Rush wants to open, because I think Rush is going to be well aware that Soulkey has something planned for this map. So I think something like an 8-Rax is exceedingly likely to try and throw Soulkey off in the early game, enough to kind of dismantle the original game plan and force Soulkey to fall back on some contingencies and what-if statements that he's got prepared as well. That's just how this game is probably going to be transpiring. I think Rush is well aware that there's going to be some kind of mind game from Soulkey in this first game. It's going to be like some kind of slow drop into the main base, or maybe even like a fast Hydra play if there's like a 1-1-1 build or something. There's so many possible ranges that Soulkey could throw Rush's way to try and throw him off, and I think Rush is going to be well prepared for that and might be throwing out some kind of early aggression. I don't necessarily think it's going to be like a BBS in the center of the map, but I think something like an 8-Rax is exceedingly likely.
Soulkey is just such a tough puzzle to figure out, man. You don't want to let him play his game, so getting in there and being really hyper aggressive early seems like a good idea, but he's so good on the defense as well.
Yeah.
He's so good at reacting to what people are doing and just turning it back on them so effortlessly.
Yeah, there's no real easy solution here in dealing with Soulkey, which is why he's just such a monster. He just knows the game inside and out. He's happy to play from behind as well. He'll probably make a few 9 pulls this game, not even to attack, just to dismantle any 8-Rax and BBS shenanigans coming his way, maybe get a free win against a 14cc. But really, he's going to be happy to play from behind in an economic deficit. He's just that good. It doesn't matter if he's a couple of drones behind the economic curve of the game, and we'll still be able to catch up and get those win conditions in that mid to late game phase. Rush, though, who knows? This guy might have some craziness prepared for us today. We might even be seeing some mech switches, which is what I would really love to see in a couple of these games. Suddenly floating his barracks, putting down some mines, getting out a crazy amount of tanks, and trying to overwhelm Soulkey with a more cost-efficient army in that late game stage. I would love to see games like that.
That's not something that I expect out of Rush, just from his style. I think he relies a lot more on a Marine medic, but if he just wants to play that game, if he wants to play that game, I think Soulkey's absolutely going to be able to match him and handle that style with no problem. It would be cool to see him mix things up a few times. It's just, like I said, throwing a curveball, it sounds like a good idea, but Soulkey is so good at catching those. He's crazy good at reacting to whatever you're doing. So maybe playing just your basic style, your best possible build, the one that you're most comfortable with, that might actually be the better solution against a player like Soulkey. I'm not sure, though.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's any easy solutions to be spoken of when it comes to facing off Soulkey, unless you're a Zerg player. So I think it's going to be Rush that has to dig deep here and try and create enough chaos to throw Soulkey off his game in the way of like making a few extra drop ships than Soulkey can calculate or something along those lines. You can see the statistics here of Soulkey just being very stellar across the board, only really even in that versus Zerg matchup, which is why he switched out light with Hero. A little bit afraid of Hero due to only just barely closing out a finals match against him 4-3. So he is trying to avoid Zergs like the plague at the moment. He is just such a good player when it comes to versus Terran and versus Protoss. He wants to double down on that forte as much as possible and see if he can ride the hype train of his back-to-back finalist gold medals that he's been able to achieve. It's 3 in a row so far. Can he get the 4th and maybe secure that Bonjour title of just pure dominance in the scene? Looking at Rush, he doesn't look quite as favorable in this versus Zerg, but I assure you these statistics aren't necessarily reflective of his skill. He's a very adept versus Zerg player, and one of the only Terrans on the planet that could take out Soulkey here.
Just to go back for a moment, guys, talk about how Soulkey's avoided the ZVZ matchup this season. He's done such a good job of it, utilizing his first place seed to use that swap in the group selection stage. He took Light and put him in his own group just to switch Hero into the group of death to get rid of him, and it worked out perfectly. Got a little lucky in the round of 8 selection and didn't get a Zerg opponent. And now we're here versus Rush. We're going to jump into our first game, guys. ASL Season 19, round of 8. Soulkey versus Rush, the final group in this round of 8. Let's get started. Match number 1. Wow, big cheers going out. Soulkey spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. Rush top left. Good cross-map situation here for our first game on Metropolis. Let's see if Rush wants to go for that 8 racks like you're expecting.
Yeah, I expected some kind of pressure play from him just to try and control the game state at least a little bit. When you do go for something like an 8 racks, you're pushing the relative timings of tech back about a minute or so for both players. Can be the wrench that's required to stop the engine of Soulkey getting underway. We'll have to wait and see what Rush has got in store for us here today. 8 racks wouldn't be super strong in these cross-map positions, but Rush obviously doesn't know that. It's still possible that an 8 racks would be very strong here. He is sending out this very fast SCV to wall in at the very least, so I don't think it's going to be the 8 racks, but he is going to be taking in a wall in the natural expansion, which is to be expected. It's just so strong for Terrans to wall in these days. In map makers have even made it a little bit harder for them to do that. That's why you see these little rocks to the side to make it so there's always going to be at least one hole to have to plug up.
Yeah, it gives a bit of opportunity for things like Ling run-bys, especially when you have these really crisp move-outs where you're taking all your units and heading out on the map at a certain timing. If the wall is able to be completely sealed shut behind the push and you just repair the supply depots, it's pretty hard to stop some of these timings from Terran. And so I like to see the map makers try to find easy solutions for that, like just this tiny little bit of rocks on the left-hand side, allowing for some counterattack potential. Now, a pool first here from Soulkey. This is kind of what we were expecting. You know, take a little bit of a hit from the economy to make sure that you're completely safe, even against something like an 8 racks.
Yeah, he agrees with us that it's very likely that Rush could throw something out in the early game, like an 8 racks, like a BBS, and he just wants to be ultra safe against something like that, and is happy to play from behind if it's not going to be that case. So he will have a slight economic deficit going forward, but he's so used to playing from behind with his championship tier play that he should still be okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's just so confident, and he deserves to be after 3 wins in a row, 3 ASL victories in a row, and in such dominating performance in all of his games. I mean, this guy has cemented himself in the annals of history. Will he take a 4th season win? That will really cement him a place here in the halls of the great players of Brood War. Can't really take that away from him, no matter how many seasons he loses after that, no matter how many bad games he has. 4 wins in a row, that's just, it's incredible. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really crazy. Like, to have that level of consistency as it's just usually unheard of. It's just not possible. At least we didn't think it was possible. Trying to get a pounce on top of one of these Marines, though. You will be getting one of these Marine kills with the interception here. Pretty good play from Soulkey, already weakening these Marines. Probably gets the second one here as well. Does manage to pick that. If he gets the third, oh my gosh, Soulkey already in such a commanding position. 3 for 3 trades with those Zerglings and getting a full scout off in the main base to confirm exactly what's behind this. Soulkey can be feeling great about this position.
Something that's really not supposed to happen. Rush, he built this wall and decides to walk out a little bit too far. Soulkey immediately with that killer instinct diving on top of those early Marines. Now with the Marines being dead. Oh, look at this. A factory, proxy factory out on the map is so interesting. He's kind of allowed this scout. Oh my gosh, more links are going to run in here now. I think he's going to handle this okay. Yeah, I should be able to clear that up. Does finish it off. There's not many links coming behind this, but Soulkey thinks he's seen absolutely everything. It looks completely normal what's going on inside Rush's base, but this factory might come right out of left field, completely taken by surprise. We'll see if this vulture can do much damage.
Yeah, now if Soulkey is really on his ball, he will understand that, okay, hang on a minute, there's probably like 100 or so minerals missing here. So that maybe there's like a depot you should have and don't, or an engineering bay or an academy that should have started that hasn't. He might be able to piece together those puzzles pieces and start to realize, hang on a second, there's something amiss. He might be able to sniff out that there's something coming, but there's no idea exactly on what that is. And it is going to be a fast starport to support this. So it's going to be a 1-1-1 build, which is what I maybe anticipated from Rush, to get very heavy into tech early on. Soulkey can also punish that with aggression early game. Builds like this are very flimsy. You don't have a lot of units to defend with, and he's scouting around with this drone to make a 3rd base location. He could go all the way to the bottom left to make a base, but I don't think he will. He's just going to stop at this 6 o'clock location and make a hatchery there. So he's going to have no idea about the exact location of this proxy, but he might be able to sniff out something's amiss.
Behind this Rush, gonna go right into a Valkyrie. It makes a lot of sense. He's investing a lot to get this vulture attack going, but this is how I've seen a lot of Zerg players get dismantled. Right as the mutas are coming across the map, 3 vultures come running into your natural. With that speed, you can kill so many drones. So many drones. Yeah. You have to pull back the mutas. It buys you so much time to get that Valkyrie out as well. This is going to be a really nice build from Rush. This is a great way to start out the series. Can he get in there and get maximum damage? Soulkey's already heading most of his mutas across the map, and this is about to engage. There's no sunken colony there. Soulkey's going to be paying all his attention to these mutas right as the vultures are coming in. Beautifully timed here. Here comes Rush. He's sending everything over towards this natural. It's just been spotted now. The mutas, they're going to have to turn around and head back home. He's going to run up on top of this ramp, try to block on the ramp. 3 vultures, though, are going to kill the drone so quickly. Dude, 2 drones have gone down so far. 3 drones going to get on top of it. 3, 4,
oh my
5.
gosh, Saiyan.
Dude, this is so much damage.
Yeah, they're not going to get back in time as well, Saiyan. He's going to lose way too many drones. Rush is in a commanding position. Game number 1 is a huge tempo swing going Rush's way. Soulkey's still alive, but that's a lot of economic damage. He's pumping out drones to replace the ones that he knew were probably going to fall. But that's already a pretty sizable amount of damage to weather in the early game. Soulkey needs to find some compensation soon. He's running on dry in his gas tank right now. He's trying to desperately get to the gas station and put some more juice in there. But but for the time being, he's going to have to try and operate on fumes while he gets back up online. He has got a quite sizable count of mutas here. With a pair of Scourge as well, it has to be said. So if he does snipe this first Valkyrie, it's going to be huge. Rush has to do everything in his power to not lose these first Valkyrie or two, or he could still get bowled over here.
Ooh, the Valkyries. Oh, God, the Valkyries. Okay, he does keep them both alive and gets a couple of volleys off here. That third base from Soulkey is going to be completely dead. Can't afford to build anything off of this base. There's like 9 drones killed, something close to that. This transition is dead in the water. I mean, he can't afford to make lurkers. He can't afford to make lurker upgrade. He can't really afford to do anything except for make drones right now, and he's flying around with a bunch of mutas that haven't been able to deal any damage. Rush is looking so good. This is an awesome play. The only time I've really seen this exact build has been on I can't even remember the name of it right now. The big blue map. I can't remember the 2-player map.
Doesn't exactly narrow it down for me.
Yeah,
So.
I'm sorry.
There's no worries. But yeah, this is good. The continuation of this vulture harass is going to be really annoying for Soulkey. Like, these vultures can come down to the 6 o'clock location and harass these drones if Soulkey's too aggressive. These mutas, there's still vultures out on the map harassing potentially. So this could still be some more damage coming Rush's way. If Soulkey makes a bunch of drones at 6 o'clock, then the vultures come in for some damage. That's going to be problematic. Does come in here and snipe off a couple of these building SCVs. Pretty good slide micro with these Valkyries. Now that there's 4, it's very difficult for Soulkey to challenge that. He can just burst fire down these Scourge with a powerful volley with slide micro. The Scourge won't actually be able to connect, as you can see here. Does get one of those Valkyries with a hidden pair of Scourge in the muta flock, but now has to be retreating. Here comes those vultures to get some damage at 6 o'clock as well. This is really annoying for Soulkey to juggle. He's going to have to turn around with his mutas to come and defend this, and that opens up Rush to come out onto the map with his Bioforce, with his Valkyries, and see if he can get a wing condition by shutting down this third.
Was Dark Origin, I remembered. I believe it was Sharp who won an ASL game with a play like that. I could be wrong, guys, but yeah, Dark Origin was the map. Pulling this out in game number 1, such a beautiful build for Rush to try, and it's worked out so fantastically here. Only losing the 1 Valkyrie so far. This lurker is so late, and it's going to come over around the top side. Maybe he can go for some sort of counterattack, but if Rush sniffs this out in the slightest, he's going to have a couple of... Like, he really should be building extra bunkers right now. He's going to kill this base for free. Where are all the units? That's got to be the question going through his mind right now. He's sending out an SCV. That's very smart. He will see this coming in. Is he going to have the detection and the overall units here? Yeah, he's got another bunker coming up. Of course, Rush does. There it is, right there. Pops into that bunker. Going to pull some SCVs out to try and repair this. Can he keep this bunker alive? Looks like the first bunker will go down, but the second bunker is going to stand strong here, at least for the time being. Meanwhile, most of the Marines are heading back home right now. SCVs are going to make a run for the ramp. He will get up this ramp surrounding on these lurkers. He's actually getting some good damage from the SCVs here, but a lot of them are going to go down. He just needs to survive. That is it. He needs to survive right now. Maybe even kill his own supply depot there just to get the army in so that he can actually get on top of these lurkers. He's just going to pull the trigger, waiting for the lurkers down burrow and then going in for it. Lurkers get back down underground, and they're actually in a pretty difficult position to clear right now. Still, Soulkey, he is pretty well dead in the water. Only 42 supplies. As soon as this gets cleared up and Rush starts to stabilize, what is the follow-up even going to happen for Soulkey? He's got almost nothing, and he's going to start losing overlords. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't think there is a win condition here for Soulkey. If he couldn't get in right then and there and do a lot of damage and get on top of the Terran production, I don't think there's much hope for him in this game. He's going to try and go for round 2. He's trying to contain with just a single lurker and some Zerglings while more lurkers arrive. As long as there's a bunker or 2 set up for defense, though, Rush will be able to weather that storm as well. There's one last hurrah here for Soulkey, but only 3 lurkers and a handful of Zerglings. This shouldn't be enough to break through. With some good micro, stims into the bunker. Rush should still be okay. I don't think that Soulkey's going to be able to achieve much with this. And also the Valkyries back at home, ravaging the Overlord, supply blocking Soulkey. He's going to gather his thoughts and tap out in just a moment. He's just thinking out what he wants to do in the next game. He knows this is over.
He's managed to pick off at least that 1 vessel, but he's losing so many Overlords. In fact, he's still able to produce stuff because he's only at 33 supply, but that's not a good sign. 34 supply in total. Now he's supply blocked at 26. A bunch of Marines are going to come out here try to fight this. It's unnecessary. for Rush to try and fight this right now. He has a tank on the way, but he wants to come out here and just end this. As soon as that goes down, I think we'll see Soulkey tap out. He's got no more legs to stand on, and there it is. GG. Incredible first game here from Rush. I didn't know if it was possible, man, to pull the wool over Soulkey's eyes. That is a feat in and of itself. He's so good at figuring out what you're up to and reacting perfectly, but he did not see that coming. Not in the slightest. Right. He got completely thrown for a loop there in that first game. He's got to be feeling a little bit rough about that.
Oh, absolutely, saying that's an ingenious way of opening up this series. I did think something like a pressure build, like an 8 racks or BBS or a 1-1-1 would be the best way of starting things off in this series. But Rush took it one step further. He did a 1-1-1 with a proxy factory speed vulture run by, got a lot of economic damage done to Soulkey and really disrupted the game state and the ebb and flow of that Zerg player and made it really difficult for him to get anything done on Rush's side of the map. And the counterattack was okay with the lurkers. There was a moment there where he was kind of isolating Rush from coming up through the little gap between the supply depots and the cliff edge. Rush could have lifted the barracks as well to get a wider arc of flank on top of those lurkers. There was still other contingencies if Soulkey stayed down in the bottom and didn't unburrow the lurkers, so still would have been okay there no matter what happened. Rush played such a stellar game of it, and Soulkey just didn't get enough done with his vulture harassment. As soon as he sees these vultures, he has to tuck tail and run and go back and defend that, which means there's no damage being done on Rush's side of the map. This is just pure profit for Rush right now, to the moon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not only killing the drones, but also forcing the Mutalisk back right now. So many more turrets are going to be able to finish. Another Valkyrie is going to pop out at least. You might even get some build time on that second Valkyrie. Look at how many drones were killed. In fact, 9 drones total. Yeah, I did get that count correct. 9 drones is half the economy there, nearly half. Yeah. So absolutely wiping out that drone count early on, and you're just not going to crack them with a bunch of mutas when there's Valkyries already pumping and enough turrets are being made. Rush, excellent hold against those lurkers as well. You got to give props to Soulkey for at least making a game out of that one by going for that lurker attack after the fact, but awesome job by Rush to send out the SCV and get the extra bunker building to kind of sandbag that. Only chance Soulkey had was getting on top of the ramp and just, you know, having enough lurkers there to shut down the economy or shut down the production for long enough, but he was not able to. Guys, we're going to take a short break, just 1 minute 30. We'll be back for game number 2. All right, we are back, guys. Game number 2 is about to start. You guys are ready for another epic ZVT. Rush has a bit of momentum here after that first game, but Soulkey's still the absolute favorite to win this series.
Oh, absolutely. Soulkey still will have a strong chance of winning the whole thing. He's not usually that easily phased. I rarely see this guy tilt, no matter how far behind he is. Even a reverse sweep is possible. Rush could be 3 games to 0, and Soulkey could still turn that all around. You never know what's quite going to happen in a series, especially if Soulkey's involved. So I definitely don't think this series is going to be going Rush's way so easily, but that's a great game number 1 for Rush. That's got to be such a big motivator and a confidence boost, and giving him the self-belief necessary to go all the way in this series. And we might be seeing that game number 7 that we've so coveted and so hoped for. I don't care really who wins personally. I just want to see a great 7-game series between both of these players. I would love to see Soulkey finally taken out as a champion. Oh, look at this, 75-25. That's exactly the percentage I gave these guys. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised that I was bang on the money with the percentages, because I pretty much said 75% to 25%, 3-1 favorite to Soulkey. Even after that game number 1, I'm still going with that prediction. I think overall it's going to be potentially a 4-2 or 4-3 victory for him, guys. But don't go anywhere, because I think in just a few moments we're going to be jumping into this game where, with this little camera pan here, is usually the signal that we're going to be doing that. Look how focused Rush is. He's just got that killer instinct. I really do like this guy's chances. I really would love, how crazy would it be if somehow today Rush is the guy to take out Soulkey? We'll be going nuts. I think even Soulkey fans would be going nuts, honestly, because it's just unheard of. I love Soulkey. I'm a Zerg player, so I obviously do want to see Soulkey do well. But we've seen him champion 3 times in a row now. You know, change is the spice of life. Variety is necessary, and I would love to see someone else dethrone him today. Oh, Soulkey's just AWOL right now. He's running off to the toilets to ask his AI some questions about what builds he should use or something, because he's like, hang on a minute, game number 1 shouldn't have happened. But I hope you guys are enjoying it in the chat. I know I am enjoying it here today. Saying, how are you feeling about this series?
I'm feeling pretty good, man. It looks like Soulkey had to take a little bathroom break, just like me. Had to go to run and clear some things up, drop some kids off at the pool. He's ready now, though, back in his chair and good to go. Shaking it off here. Maybe just going for a little walk is going to clear his head, help him get ready for this next game.
I mean, he's going to need some help. It doesn't look like Rush is going to be a pushover in this series. It's going to be Polestar next as well, which is Rush's pick. We've had a bit of a trend recently where whoever picks the map ends up losing. We'll have to see if that transpires again. But guys, we're jumping into it. ASL Season 19, Round of 8, Soulkey versus Rush. Game number 2, and the map, Polestar. Let's get it on.
Oh, we got some intense calls in the audience here today. Damn, Soulkey, top right, Rush, bottom left. Definitely some passionate fans out there for both of these two players. Rush, 2-time second place in the ASL. Soulkey, 3-time winner. Is Rush going to get the upset today? He's on course for that, but he's still a long way from taking a best of 7. Anything can happen in a best of 1, guys, but best of 7 is something else. It's truly Soulkey's domain, though.
Right,
this guy's so good in that series.
I would give Rush a much higher chance if it was only like a best of 3 or a best of 5. I think Rush would have a way higher win percentage for something like that. But in a best of 7, that win percentage unfortunately plummets. I think the longer the series goes on, the more chance Soulkey has. So in a best of 7, I still really do favor Soulkey. Rush historically has been able to take out Soulkey in some best of 3 situations, 2-0, 2-1. So anything can happen in small sets. But when it comes down to the distance, the marathon, I think that you better be putting your money on Soulkey between these two guys, and it is going to be a very fast overpull again from Soulkey, wanting to be super safe. It's like he's going for this so often these days. He's just happy to play very middle of the road from behind if necessary, just so confident in his abilities that he doesn't need to take any kind of economic edge. And it has to be said on the ladder, saying even if you're like a 2000 MMR Zerg or something, you don't technically need to 12 hatch against Terran. It's only once you get to like 2300, 2400 that you start to need to go for those economic focused builds to actually win. As long as you've got the execution and skill, these kind of builds are more than enough to get you up there.
Soulkey just expecting some cheese. Eventually it's gonna come and you'll be ready. You'll have the lings out. And you know what? Last game, he still got damage with his lings, you know, regardless of the wall in. So there's really no reason not to do this for a player the caliber of Soulkey. Bringing it back, even if he ends up with an early deficit, is absolutely possible now. Having this drone here, scouting the front, going to be able to put a little damage on this SCV, but not too much more. At least he knows what's here. How many lings is he going to produce? 4 lings on the way, going straight across the map. He must have another pair. No, he's going to send 1 ling back. Okay, so probably not going to make a 3rd pair.
Oh, it's going to be a 3rd hatchery before Gas, though, saying he's going to play like on Eclipse and take a very fast 3rd hatchery here. And then if you see how close the ramp is to this hatchery, guys, he can just make some Sunkens up here and defend very cost efficiently with that high ground as well. Won't need as many Sunkens at that 3rd base as he makes in his natural. So can go into a very fast Hydra Defiler style from this position and put the onus onto Rush to make something happen. And Soulkey can just play a more defensive game.
If Rush pushes out really early with a very fast Academy Rush, going into that stim early, couple of medics and pushing out, you know, 6-8 Marines, he could force 4 to 5 sunken colonies out of Soulkey, plus some lings as well. And so that can really put a hurt on an economy that's been built up the way that Soulkey is trying to do it. And we'll see if Rush goes for that type of play. If he does something like a really fast +1 build, doesn't actually look like he's going to do that. I see a second barracks there in the main, so he's not most likely going to go for a fast engineering bay instead. Academy.
This is a really late gas for Rush, so this could be a 5 racks play as well. The thing is that with the 3 hatch play from Soulkey before Lair, it gives so much power to the Terran. The one reason why we see Terrans kind of railroaded into very strict build orders is usually because the 2 hatch timings are so strict that you kind of can't really get away with anything as Terran because of how crisp your turret timings are. But when it's 3 hatch before Lair like this, the world is your oyster as Terran. You can kind of go for pretty much any build under the sun. So there's so much more flexibility in the build order range that Rush could go for here. It's going to be that 2 racks stim timing initially, but not necessarily to kill Soulkey. It looks like he's going to be gearing up more for a mid game, maybe a bit more light style where it's a very delayed move out and he wants to hit with a more critical mass of bio and try and catch Soulkey off guard where there's not quite enough threshold of Sunkens that have been met, and he manages to bowl over the Zerg that way. We do see a lot of Terran players going for that kind of strange timing style to throw the Zerg off a little bit. Soulkey, though, has got an extremely fast Hydra Den behind this as well, so going to be putting on some pressure with maybe some lurker-contained follow-up as well. Going for a very fast Hydra Den like this is usually quite uncommon at the pro level, but is still very viable and potentially very strong.
This is strange. I don't really get what Soulkey's going for here. He's got a lot of lings, so maybe he wipes out this Marine Medic army and then follows it up with a bunch of lurkers. Scan comes through. He sees the lack of drones here at the natural. It's kind of strange to me that he's built so few drones and he's got this 3rd base up. Like the 3rd base obviously to hide the Hydra Den from any sort of scan, but it is really confusing to me that he's got this extra base and he's just so low on economy. He can hardly afford to produce any lurkers on a build like this.
Yeah, he's going to barely afford to build, like, say, 4 or 5 lurkers initially, but the main play is the fact that he's going to have, like, 2 or 3 control groups of links. Tries to get a pounce onto these bio. Beautiful surround by Soulkey, actually. Firebat not quite getting the value it needs to, and that's going to be the major play that Soulkey needs, clearing up that first Bioforce with those Zerglings. That's the main play there. The follow-up is the Hydralisks to kind of seal the deal. He just wanted that main surround. You can see even more Zerglings coming out for Soulkey. The Lurker's job is just to bust through this wall possible and help the Zerglings get the value that they need. Look at how many units are coming out from Soulkey. He's going to have only like 3 to 5 lurkers initially, and then it's going to be a lurker contain into a fast hive play from him as well. So a lot of bunkers are going to be made by Rush to hold the line, but Soulkey can use these lurkers to break open this wall, kill the supply depot, and just contain the Terran player while transitioning into hive.
Yeah, he's going to run forward here with the lurkers. He is in range of that one bunker, but the second bunker on the right-hand side really clogs up this area. He's not going to be able to get in there with Lings. He will back up just out of range of that bunker, out of range of the bunker and the turret there, and start to get to work on these supply depots. Very interesting decisions here from Soulkey.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that he was able to hide his Hydra Den for so long, but it's all kind of hinged on Rush pushing out, and he didn't really have any reason to push out. It was so weird. When he scans and sees, you know, 3 drones in the natural, why on earth would we be pushing out at that time? You know that your opponent is cutting a huge amount of economy to do something. It's not like he's just sitting there, you know, doing nothing. He's got to be building a ton of attacking units, so pushing out with that was a huge mistake. Now Rush finds himself in an almost contained position. These Lings are doing a great job of blocking. He just wants to gun one of these down. He does get one. Can he get the second one? He's doing a good job of baiting the Lings into the bunker and then rushing forward to kill one of these lurkers. If he just breaks this containment before there's like 4 or 5 lurkers in front of the base, then he's going to be okay here.
Yeah, he just needs to create some space for himself, so Soulkey can't just do a checkmate move of a free Dark Swarm to end Rush's life in like the next couple of minutes. He has done a great job of killing a few of those lurkers. He's stimming preemptively, ready to pounce at a moment's notice. He wants to isolate one of these lurkers at a time and try and pick them off. He's going to be baiting the subterranean spines on the right-hand side of one of those Marines to split them off. Soulkey now has to abandon the contain with Rush's aggression and breaking out like that. It's a really good play from Rush to try and utilize his bioforces as early as possible and not allow a critical mass of lurkers to be set up there to force him to be stuck in his base for a very long time. Defiler Mount is on the way, but now the Terran has breached the defenses of Soulkey, and he can come out on some, even as a tank back here, to do either a push or to break a contain later on as well. There's one lurker that's chilling up here to be a little bit annoying, but Rush can easily deal with that. Soulkey's just trying to distract Rush and buy as much time as possible, knowing that the Defiler Mound is on its way, but not quite ready.
Ooh, he's going to catch this drone on the right-hand side, preventing another base from coming up, potentially in the bottom right-hand corner. We've got the Defiler Mound done, and so I don't think a tank push is really going to cut it. We'll probably have to see Rush go into, you know, mass expansion here, probably double expand and try to get into a really big economy, overwhelm Soulkey as he's sitting back and just trying to get everything online. But you know, behind all of this, this is such an interesting game that Soulkey, you know, he cut so much economy early on, and now he's gone back into that. He's still got to get all of this tech out, though. This drop is going to slip by at the bottom. I don't think that Soulkey saw that. Oh, but he's got Scourge out on the bottom corner of his base. But Rush, meanwhile, he was building... Okay, there it is. He does see it. Rush was building non-stop workers here, so he is going to have a very big economy to work with. I don't think this push does much, but his economy is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, we see the Scourge trying to move to intercept this dropship. Luckily, Rush pulled it back after the Overlord scouted it, so won't be intercepting that so easily. Can still potentially thread the needle into that main base with that dropship if he wants to, or rotate around to the third base. With these bar units, can force a lot of Dark Swarms out from Soulkey and try and sandbag Soulkey from really doing much while the dropship goes out and tries to play whack-a-mole with some of these expansion attempts from Soulkey and keep him limited to just 3 gases worth of production will be a win for Rush at the very least. The game won't be over. Free base Zerg is still pretty potent, especially with Hydra Defiler style. So Soulkey's still going to be a very playable game state, but Rush limiting his economic prowess like this is a big win early game.
Yeah, and he can just keep pulling back away from these Dark Swarms, maneuvering around them, looking for openings. You know, can fight those lurkers with unsieged tanks, no problem. We don't have a third attempt just yet for Rush, but he's really getting his economy fully online, hitting all of his upgrades, and getting into a really massive army. We're going to have a flag out here just yet. Looks like flag not quite done as of yet. Again, more trading going on between these two as Rush backs off Soulkey. Keeping him at bay for now, but Rush going to be looking for those openings.
Yeah, Soulkey just trying to screen Rush right now and not allow him to come up to this natural third pocket that he's currently taking as his fourth base that we just got a shot of here now. It will be really good for Soulkey if Rush can't get over there to knock that base out. That will put a lot more pressure onto Rush in this game. He slowed down the expansion timings thus far, but if that fourth base goes on undeterred, this third for Rush will not be enough. He's going to have to double expand at the bare minimum here in this game. It's good that he's going for a third base, but it won't be long. In like 5 minutes time, if he doesn't have a fourth base online, he's just going to be dead in the water against Soulkey. So either he needs to make something happen now, do some drops, or try and knock out this fourth base of Soulkey, or even double expand himself.
He's having a hard time sending his vessels forward to start sniping down some of these defilers because the Scourge are a real threat, and he has to go quite far ahead of his army in order to get that, make that happen. There's the Scourge right there, ready to dive on top of that. It's such a hard thing to manage when you're doing all this stuff as Soulkey, keeping all these units flowing out, you know, getting this economy online, morphing lurkers, getting all the upgrades, consuming and all that good stuff, making sure you have the Dark Swarm in the right spot at the right time, and also keeping Scourge in position to just deny these Irradiates from continuously hitting these defilers. Is going to take the second best and go ahead and irradiate 2 of these lurkers now. We'll be sort of opening up that area, but it seems like Soulkey has everything locked down for the time being.
Yeah, I don't think Rush is getting here and doing too much to him. Rush, though, is making the correct play of double expanding and taking the 6 o'clock, though. So he's still in the game. He's got his I's dotted and his T's crossed at the bare minimum. So we'll have a very playable game state to work with going into this late middle game phase. Looks like Soulkey's trying to get on top of this bio as quickly as possible and keeps leapfrogging forward with these Dark Swarms, making it very difficult for Rush to have much area and oxygen to work with. The main goal of this is just to screen the Terran from ever getting close to his gas expansions, and Rush knows that, so he's trying to rotate around now to this natural third pocket to see if he can break through. Soulkey is waiting with another Defiler there, so he keeps him locked out of his bases with that usual impeccable defense for the time being. So I don't think that Rush is going to get too much done anytime soon. He just needs to get his own economy off the ground, his own production underway, so he can keep challenging Soulkey as we go into the late game.
Rush getting some more barracks online here. He stopped at the 3 count of tanks. A little force has moved around the left-hand side, and Rush has actually missed it here. It's going to be hitting this third base. Dude, Soulkey going to shut this down. If Rush still can't get through on any of these angles, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, man. There's the Dark Swarm. He's going to head directly to the north. Can he actually get through any of these positions? He's got a lot of Irradiate now, but there's the Dark Swarm going down. He's going to have Plague here soon as well. I'm sure a Plague is probably going to get thrown down on these vessels. Yes, first Plague hits 2 vessels, and it seems like that CC actually went down as well, so Rush really having a hard time. No, there's the CC on the left-hand side. It is still alive, excuse me. And so Rush can bring that back, but it's going to be a little while before he can clear out all this stuff.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't lose the CC and lose too many workers, he's going to be okay. Pretty nice plagues from Soulkey. This is going to be the next phase of the game, just plaguing the vessels in the bio over and over again. Scourge will no longer be cost efficient in terms of gas and lava to clear the vessels, but Plague is more than enough, especially with the Hydro support. Now going to be knocking on the door of Rush with this small contingency, containing any more reinforcements, getting some snipes on these vessels as well. Being super annoying is Soulkey, and maybe even forcing Rush to think about turning around with some of his army to come and clear that contain. Either way, that's going to be opening up the map a little bit for Soulkey to come out soon and start fighting back against this force. There's a massive clump of vessels for the time being, but that might not be long for this world. There's a lot of energy in these defilers. Soulkey pushing down into these positions to try and clear up some of these tanks. He just wants to get some beautiful plagues and snipe off the tanks of Rush to take away the utility that's available to him to be utilized.
Oh, this is so rough. Rush is still not able to clear this out in the front. It's crazy how long this has managed to stand. And Rush still hasn't really gotten that base back up on and online. 6 o'clock is mining. And so at least he's got that third base going. He had to give up the tanks, though, and now he's going to be losing more Marines in the center. Rush looking to go ahead and irradiate this Defiler. He will get that, but he may end up losing all of these vessels. Oh, gosh, coming forward with
That's
those.
painful.
Losing the vessels here is so bad. He is going to be having a very hard time defending these upcoming attacks. The Lurkers are still over here. Oh, my gosh, there's so many Lurkers that have been made by Soulkey off of these 4 gases, completely surrounding and annihilating those. Oh gosh, this is really starting to fall apart now. Rush had an excellent game plan and a pretty decent early game as well, but Soulkey is in his full macro mode here, hitting on 4 gases, and he's about to have a 5th.
I mean, this is just crazy. Really stellar stuff from Soulkey. Supplies currently even as well, which does kind of make you think the writing's on the wall. And these expansions are going to start going down for Rush as well. If he doesn't have 4 bases online, he needs additional gas to be able to be fully operational against Soulkey. Even these SCV train might be dying as well as Soulkey pushes down into 6 o'clock to try and cancel that out. But look at this. A little drop attempt from Rush was a nice idea in this top left, but it's not going to be so successful. Easily thwarted by Soulkey. He's just everywhere, man. Look at this. He's just everywhere he needs to be. He is. He might be able to get a snipe on this hatchery at the 4th base location. Rush, though, struggling to make that a reality. He's instead relegating to killing some of the drones and trying to shuffle back from these Lurker Hydra to then try and pick off the hatchery as an afterthought from the bottom right, but not able to do so. Soulkey will clean this up. Really stellar defense from Soulkey. You can see why we call him like the wall, the impenetrable wall, because he just almost cannot be broken on all fronts. Rush is just going to tap out. Soulkey ties up this series 1-0 here.
Oof. Monstrous Hydraless Defiler play there from Soulkey. Had a bit of a rough opener. Didn't get the damage he wanted to with that initial Lurker play, but was able to hold back Rush with some incredible Defiler Lurker control. Keeping the Scourge ever present to prevent Rush from ever breaking through there. Such a hard... It's one of those things that's so much easier said than done, right? Just hold back the Terran player with a Defiler Lurker sitting on 3 bases while you get your 4th base out. It's just... You know, when you don't have a choke to just sit there, like, you know how it usually is. You have a natural, and then you just statically keep throwing down Dark Swarms, and eventually you get your 4th base in the back. Moving out and holding a big portion of the map there, Soulkey's still able to do it in such a dynamic position. That was pretty incredible to watch.
On a macro map like Polestar as well, the amount of territory he has to keep track of is insane. It's really impeccable from Soulkey having that kind of proactive defense there. It's really I'm almost, even though I kind of expect it from Soulkey at this point, it is still really impressive and mind-blowing when you see it. I can't even state enough just how mechanically demanding Hydra Defiler is as a Zerg player. Probably one of the only things that can rival with the mechanical demand of SK Terran. So definitely a favorable choice for these players to try and get some cost efficiency going. It's going to be Soulkey's pick next on Dominator. This series only just starting, guys. In game number 3, here we go. ASL Season 19, Round of 8, Soulkey versus Rush. Game number 3, Dominator. Let's get it on.
Jeez, my voice feels sore just listening to that guy. Good God. Can't be doing that stuff anymore as a caster. Be yelling like that. Calm down, my friend. Calm down. All right. We're getting into this one. We got Soulkey center right. Rush bottom left. And Dominator. What are we going to see out of Rush here? He's got to be feeling a little... scared after that last game. Just wasn't able to poke in there at all. This is kind of what we think of as Rush's specialty, is like pulling these Zerg players apart as they're trying to get their 4th base online. And this was definitely not a easy position to get your 4th base online there. As Soulkey, he had a lot of things he had to juggle, and he was still able to make it work. Kind of crazy that he was able to do that versus Rush in particular.
Yeah, I think Rush is going to have to go back to the mental drawing board and recalculate a little bit. And it looks like he is potentially thinking about some not necessarily aggressive play here, but he might be thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to try to adjust my style? So he might be thinking something along the, okay, this is going to be a slightly forward 9 racks from him. So I was thinking, okay, what is going to be the adjustment here from Rush? He does need to kind of change up his approach a little bit. This is the one game Soulkey's not going for an overpull as well, it has to be said. This is going to be a 12 hatch opening from Soulkey, so this could be just the thing that Rush needs to set the pace of the game, going for this early pressure play, especially if there's not going to be a pull to kind of disrupt him. So that could be an early moral victory and an early technical victory here for him going forward to try and limit the possible range of play from Soulkey and set back the tech timers of both players respectively by about a minute or so. Would be really interesting to see if Rush can put himself into the driver's seat with this pressure play. It is a 9 racks though. It's not quite as crazy as an 8 racks, but it does more or less effectively do the same thing. We'll still be able to put a lot of pressure onto Soulkey, maybe even force a lot of drones to be pulled and the gas to be stopped being mined, slow down the tech timings, limit the economy of Soulkey, and that could be just what he needs. The other thing is maybe he's thinking about what mech switches are possible in the future as well, or at the very least just getting the tanks out earlier on and getting a higher count of them. There's a few adjustments that could be made.
Definitely start a bunker here, maybe even a second bunker as things start to heat up. And Soulkey gonna pull the drones. How many will he get out here? As one drone in the rally point, seeing how many Marines are coming, jumping on top of the bunker now. The 2 SCVs are gonna pull back for the time being. Don't want to take any damage just yet, but they're gonna be part of this engagement when it finally does come. First Marine is here. Got to be very, very careful with this. He's only done a tiny bit of damage to one of these drones so far. He's going to get jumped upon immediately. Target fire on one of the drones. Can he actually get one? One goes down, but this is not enough damage so far. He needs to come back in here, get on top of this thing, and he's not actually going in with the SCVs, so he's just going to cancel the bunker. 1 kill is all he's able to get. It's not so bad since it wasn't an 8 racks, but I mean, it's still less than he was looking for, that's for sure.
Yeah, he did kill a second drone that was scouting to make sure that the rush wasn't still occurring and that he could go back into full drone production behind that initial pair of Zerglings. But as you can see, it did slow down the tech timings of Soulkey. So honestly, killing 2 drones, only losing 1 Marine, not committing 2 follies there, and getting a cancel on his bunker, I would say this is, you know, a fairly even game state. It's not like Rush is in a great position or anything, but it's certainly a playable situation for him here. And I think that that's probably one of the better occurrences that could have transpired. I think it was very likely that he could have fallen flat on his face, and so he could have devastated him with that rush if it didn't go too much better than that. So I do think this is okay for Rush. It's still a very playable, very even game state, and it does disrupt and slow down Soulkey's original game plan.
He's been slowed a little bit, but yeah, I'd say you're about right on that. It's probably about even here between these two. Ooh, Ling's gonna run by, block. Not quite able to get it done. It's a skinny Marine there, guys. He's been taking his slim fast lately. That's the new one, isn't it? He's on his Ozempic. His bone mass is really, really low, but he's absolutely looking fine for the summer, this season. And he's going to go ahead and clean up that Ling there in the main. Rush trying to stand out in the front there, ends up getting completely scouted. Soulkey's pretty happy about that. Just 2 Lings get the full scout.
Yeah. But yeah, I think when all's said and done, this is a fairly even state of affairs. Even a hidden hatchery at the very back of his base. That could be for some hidden tech. Could make like a spire in his main and a hidden den up there, or vice versa. Make a den in his main and hide the spire up by that 3rd macro hatchery. So we'll be able to obfuscate some of his tech choice here. Could potentially come into play. Could also put up like his evolution, an evolution chamber up there and do a crazy Zerg play and try and disguise that as well. There's many things you can do with some hidden tech in this matchup. We'll have to see if he wants to go for anything like that.
Yeah, he might be throwing down a really fast Hydra Den after making a few mutas just to throw off Rush's game plan. This is the bottom left-hand corner, Terran spawn, which is quite hard to hold. Just mutaless play. So you may be expecting 5 racks. That's actually, that's pretty big. If he does go for that quicker lurker, that would be very strong against the 5-Rax play.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 5-Rax basically just it's pretty semi all in. You have to really get damage with this to make it worth it. You also can't really afford the same amount of turrets to defend against this muta timing. But he still will have such a crazy amount of bio in the mid game to work with. It does look like there's a drone hiding up by this hatchery at the third macro hatchery to try and build something. I imagine that's going to be, the evolution chamber, called it saying. It's going to be a hidden evolution chamber for some crazy Zerg shenanigans potentially. That might go unscouted for a long time. But this 5-Rax will easily potentially end the game before that even transpires. You just have so much more bio in that mid-game phase that you can really bowl the Zerg over if their Mutalist micro is not on point or there's not enough Sunkens back at home.
Yeah, this is, dare I say, a pretty decent build matchup for Rush. He's going to have a lot of bio, and he's going to have that 1-1 for a timing right before when these ultras start to pop out. And he could potentially just smash right through this natural. Soulkey gets his first few mutas out, and it is hard to hold mutalist play on this map in this position. So we'll see how Rush does with that. But he's moving out with a massive bioforce. You got to be very careful with this. Diving in, there's 3 turrets here. He can move to the left-hand side. Turrets aren't going to do you very well when they're over on the wrong side. But now he's in the back corner. It takes a long time for these Mutalists to get back home. And Rush might still break through this, man. That's a lot of sunken colonies, but maybe he can do it.
He's got slightly more Marines than usual, but this is 5 sunken colonies. If he blocks with an evolution chamber as well, I think he can look how many SCVs are dying back at home. Rush is going to be pretty all in with this attack. He knows he has to bust. Has only got 3 medics to make this work, and he's not target firing quite efficiently enough on these sunken. So Soulkey will hold, especially with the drones being pulled. It's such a close defense. Soulkey just had a really great read on the situation and made so many extra sunkens initially to keep the pressure with his mutas on. He saw how little turrets there were, so he kind of made the quick calculation. Okay, I need to just commit into a crazy amount of sunkens because I'm in a great economic position no matter what. I'm going to kill almost all these SCVs. All I need to do is survive. So just throws down a few extra sunkens and manages to hold. Now Rush is in complete disarray, trying to catch up on tech. He won't even need to go into crazy Zerg anymore with this current game state. He just needs to stabilize and go into a normal timing. He's already got such a strong economic lead that he doesn't even need to worry about going for that crazy Zerg timing.
Yeah, no target fire at all there with the Marines. That's a bit unfortunate. You can see that Soulkey was taking that very serious. That was a very scary moment there when you don't bring home your mutas, and there's the potential of the Marines breaking through. Pulling the drones was a desperation move, but not even any drones went down in that fight. And so Soulkey has a great economy behind this. In fact, just about to match the overall supply count here for Rush. There is the second evolution chamber and the hive coming online. So many SCVs have been killed here, man. There's almost no economy left to speak of. 5-Rax, you're not even going to be able to produce 5 Marines at a time with this economy.
This pocket is going to be so hard to defend as well behind the minerals in the main. There's going to be such a long time until the vessels are out to thwart that and deal with that. So I don't know, man. I think this game is almost over for Rush. There are still a few counterplay options. Soulkey is still on 2 bases worth of economy, so there is still a way that Rush can make this work. It's just going to be so difficult, especially if Soulkey keeps swinging back around with these mutas into that main base and exploiting these pockets of weakness and limiting how many SCVs there are.
Little group of Marines. This is all Rush can put together right now, and he's really been torn apart down here bottom left on Dominator. And again, gonna fly right on through, cause another bit of panic here for Rush, pulling back his Marines. We are gonna have that Ultralist transition happening pretty soon, and very likely that Soulkey's just going to be able to smash right through Rush, but we'll give him a chance here. See what he can put together. It's going to be hard to deny these Mutalists dealing any more damage when you just don't have anything flying. No splash damage. Has been slowed down by a huge amount on his vessel timing. Not only because of the Mutalisk damage, but also because of this 5 racks. You don't have the money to get that really fast factory when you're going for the 5 racks, and the Mutalisk damage is kind of compounding those factors, and so the vessel's just going to be starting to come online now. So these mutas still have some time to go to work, kill even more SCVs, and keep harassing this economy.
Yeah, there's just not much economy to speak of. He's going to struggle to even produce one vessel at a time from this start. But as you can see, he can't even afford that first vessel just yet. He only just now will begin to start that. Hasn't even got the money for Irradiate. It's kind of insane, the position that Rush is in. Unfortunately for him, he's not going to have much counterplay to what Soulkey's going to be doing. Now that he's got enough forces of Zerglings out on the map, he can also finally get his 3rd gas online. Didn't need to get that early game. Didn't want to give a win condition to Rush and being able to come out onto the map and sniping a 3rd base until he was absolutely sure that he had enough forces to fight Rush back, and just focused on limiting Rush's capabilities for the time being. Now, though, we'll be able to secure that 3rd gas finally and start to really power up on this crazy Zerg style, and there will not be much that Rush can do about it.
No, there's not much Rush can do about it at all. He's going to be able to make a whole lot of Marines and probably come over towards this natural, maybe go towards the 3rd, but if he goes way up into that top right hand corner and Ultras pop out and counterattack him, it's going to be very hard for him to hold on back at home. We've already got Ultras out on the field here. +1 Carapace is done. Chitinous plating is finished as well, and so only a matter of time before that +4 armor is online. No onus for Soulkey to push and actually do anything right now. He just needs to sit here, get this 3rd gas going, and look for a 4th base, start throwing down multiple. We can see him put down, 2-3 hatcheries around the map now. From this position, he can just afford to start throwing them down everywhere. As long as he sucks a little bit of gas out of those locations, it's going to be well worth it.
Yeah, the onus is on Rush to do something here. He's even kind of hoping that Irradiates get thrown down onto his Mutalisk stack. That'll make it even more potent for his Ultralisk timing. 4-1, now upgrades finished for Soulkey on these Ultralisks. It's going to be so insurmountable of a mountain for Rush to overcome. It is technically still doable the longer the game goes on. Maybe he can get some dropships out and kind of surprise Soulkey while he's distracted elsewhere. I just don't see that transpiring in this game. It does look like this is going to be Soulkey's game to lose, and as long as he dots his I's and crosses his T's, he's going to be able to close this out slowly but surely. Rush is still in like full defensive mode. Soulkey even going to be coming in here and killing some of these SCVs and forcing the Irradiates to come down onto these Mutas, potentially limiting the utility up for Rush and still putting a dampener on his economy and making these Marines want to stay a bit more defensive for the time being. He's now finally going to start moving out, probably waiting for that +2 weapons attack upgrade to almost be completed on the engineering bay. Did take him a long time to get that started with that really late science facility timing. Soulkey now is just going to have such a flood of Zerglings and Ultralisks that Rush needs a really great engagement of gunning down these Ultras with target fire. He has got a pretty sizable bioball to work with. If he controls it well, body blocks with some medics, it is still a winnable fight for him, but it's going to be really tough.
Yeah, this is a very late upgrade, and it's part of the cascading effect that has happened due to the damage that was dealt early game and the failed initial bust that Rush tried to go for. Now he's here moving a giant ball of 1/1 medic marine. I think the +2 must be finishing up soon because he's looking to take this engagement. But that's a lot of ultras, Xun. That is so many ultras, and we've seen Soulkey pull apart Terran players that are in a much safer position. We've seen him pull apart light with this play before, when he was just completely, unharassed and totally healthy. He's going to try and push in here now. Can he actually break through? We're going to see a ton of lurkers come up from behind this here shortly. Soulkey just waiting for the right moment when the Marines have fully engaged with this to come in from all sides and just completely sandwich this attack. Here comes those Ultras. Where are the rest of them, though? Wait a second. He's kind of feeding in Ultras. Wait, where are all the Ultras? Most of them are over at the other base, I think.
there is a small chance that he can break through these Sunkers. There are still some Ultras popping out low, so it might still be difficult to break through this line. I think Soulkey will still hold. There's the 3 Ultras from behind. I do think Soulkey still defends this. For a moment there, it looked like Rush could have potentially had broken through, did kill off some of these forces, but now, unfortunately, there's not enough meat left to work with, and he will be cleaned up by Soulkey. Rush is going to have to tap out soon. That was a valiant effort for him. It did look like he had a critical mass that was reached to be able to break through, but it was such a long sunken line, and Soulkey just bided his time for a massive flank from behind until the very last moment here. We kind of see the writing on the wall for Rush. He's going to be thinking about the game state. He's slightly tilted over to the side in his chair, probably thinking about what he wants to do next game, where this game went wrong, and what adjustments are going to have to make to have any chance at winning this best-of-7 series. Soulkey, though, with a pretty masterclass in how to do hidden tech transitions or putting on the pressure here. And it was kind of crazy how he was able to stomp this 5 racks play with just like some good sunken timings and transitions here. This is his attack coming to the 12 o'clock with Rush, like 4 naked Marines, but there are actually some Sunkens even finishing up here to hold on to this base.
Yeah, those Sunkens are going to be able to handle everything. And we've got Ultras coming in as well. Just getting this 4th gas online is perfect for Soulkey. He only needs a couple more drones up there, and that'll increase the number of Ultras he can make. Soulkey has been ahead for a long time, and he's getting more and more ahead, showing us kind of a masterclass in how to close a game versus a Terran player. Force him to come to you is the name of the game. Just playing keep away and waiting for the right opportunity. That was looking a little dicey in the natural, but seems like Soulkey pulled the trigger at the exact right time. Now bringing forward so many Ultras. Doesn't matter your positioning here. Even if you're behind that supply depot wall, there's just too much tankiness from these Ultras, and they're cleaving through absolutely everything. Rush gonna stay in until the bitter end, but the writing is on the wall here. Everything going to go down. Yeah, like if he loses all the Ultras, he's still gonna be okay.
The only reason Soulkey's even attacking now is because he still has a upgraded vantage window before that +3 weapons kicks in for those Marines. So it was 5-2 to 2-1. So that's the only reason Soulkey was attacking, just to get cost-efficient trades. As you can see, the +3 just finished up after that fight. Really well executed from Soulkey. He understands the game state at almost every junction and what he needs to do to not only win the game, but put himself into a more favorable game state at every junction. I'm just so impressed with his play overall. Rush looked like he had a fighting chance of being able to take out Soulkey with that 2-1 attack timing. They were just too deep of a wall of Sunkens to break through, and Soulkey had nerves of steel and championship composure to work with to not be, pulling the trigger too prematurely on that defense as well. Just barely hanging on by a thread when he needs to, and kind of dancing on the tightrope like a ballerina and making it look easy, Sam.
Yeah, this was that crazy moment. Diving in here, it seemed a little risky. Like, Soulkey wasn't pulling out all the Ultras at the same time. You can see he's just holding some of them back. He's letting them tank, letting the sunken colonies deal most of the damage. Ultras are coming in and cleaning up. That's what we didn't see during the game, was the Ultras cleaning up the rally point of Rush. And they were brought together, though, at the end of this fight as the Sunkens were starting to get low. Then comes the rest of the Ultras and the flank as well to just start to clear this out. Rush was almost able to break through those Sunkens, but in the end, the line holds strong. Really impressive position from Soulkey. Just if those sunken colonies were like out just a little bit farther, he might have been able to get enough DPS going on them to start taking them down, but they were so deep in there. It was so hard to get a good line of Marines firing to actually take those down.
Absolutely, guys. And if you're watching on YouTube and you would like to catch this action about 10 to 12 hours earlier, we do these casts live on the souplive.com/SCTVEN. Come and follow us and give us some support and love over there, because we do these live on that website before they get uploaded onto YouTube. So come check us out there and hang out in the chat. This is such a crazy series, Sen. I mean, it is kind of going the way we expected it to, but these games are still pretty exciting. I'm hoping that Rush isn't going to be too deflated from that and still got some good game plans in the back of his mind.
He's going to have to pull out something pretty sneaky to beat Soulkey. I mean, that game number 1 was awesome. Did pull the wool over Soulkey's eyes. Since then, Soulkey has been up to his usual tricks, hiding tack. First with that 3 hatch before gas, hiding that third base and going for the lurker transition. That seemed a little bit shakier than the second play, which was hiding the 2.5 hatchery in the top of the base and going for evolution chamber. Pretty decent play out of him. You know, usually when we see those big busts, the earlier busts with the Marines breaking through, it's like a 2-1 timing for the Marines right before the +2 carapace finishes for the Ultras, not the other way around,
Right.
man. Not like as the +3 is about to finish. Do you know what I mean? This was completely out of the box, just totally wild, the game, how it went down, but Soulkey in such a big advantage with those super fast carapace upgrades, just hardly any way to break through all that meat and muscle.
Yeah, and you know, he was able to navigate those timings after dealing with pulling the drones to deal with the 9 racks early pressure from Rush. It wasn't like Rush completely failed in that attack. He did kill 2 drones and more or less secured an even game state after the fact and slowed down the relative timings by about a minute or so. Still, though, Soulkey was able to hide his tech and kind of throw a curveball to Rush. And once Rush realized that he had to break just before the timings of the Ultras would kick in, it still wasn't quick enough. Kind of crazy. And Soulkey had mapped out the upgrade timings of Rush in that game flawlessly. He knew exactly when that Terran was going to be pushing out with +2 finishing, and he also had a really good read on when +3 was finishing, which is why he attacked into Rush right at the end there to trade out with his 5-2 Ultra list just before that +3 weapons could kick in. He just has everything like down to a T. He's like the Zerg Flash, man. He knows all the timings, all the ins and outs, and the decision trees are well navigated.
Rush can't let that get to him in the end. That was Dominator, bottom left spawn for Terran. Such a hard position to hold Mutalisk play from. Bit surprised that he actually went for 5 racks in that game rather than a teched out play. That's what we generally see from Terran players on that map in that position. As soon as they spawn there, just immediately gunning for like a 1-1-1 or, you know, a 1 racks fast expand into a quick Valkyrie, something like that. But didn't want to play that game. Instead, wanted to go for kind of an antiquated build there in the 5 racks play. Just hasn't been as popular lately.
No, it hasn't. But once more, guys, before we go to break here, we're live currently, if you are watching on YouTube, at souplive.com/SCTVEN. Come and show us some love and support there and hang out in the chat. We do all of these casts live and they later on get uploaded onto YouTube. So please come and hang out with us there. But don't go anywhere. Run to the bathroom, grab your snicky snacks, grab your popcorn, grab your beer, whatever you got to do. You got a 5-minute break and get back here, guys, because this series is kicking off.
All right, guys, we are back and we're ready for this series to continue. Soulkey now with the lead over Rush in the series, but it's not over yet. Still got lots to look forward to, including that Death Valley game, guys. With one-on-win on the board for Rush, we're definitely going to be able to get that.
Oh yeah, I'm so stoked about that, saying. You know how I feel about that. Just even seeing a game on that map kind of brings joy to my heart. I'm so excited to see where this series ends up. I don't even care who wins. It would be great to see Soulkey dismantled from his championship title. Doesn't look like it's going to be the case today. There is still hope for Rush, but he's already behind in the series. It's going to be his pick next on Deja Vu. Can he turn this series around and tie things up?
It's a tall order, Xun. I wouldn't want to be in his position right now. Soulkey is such a beast. He is one of those genius players that only comes around once in a decade, in a century. This guy right here. We're jumping into our next game, guys. Soulkey versus Rush. Let's get it started. Soulkey over here in the top right. Rush top left. No, Soulkey, one of those geniuses, but he's not the genius that plays it safe. Spends his days grading papers. He's the guy who's out there risking it all and testing out his theories. Such an awesome player to watch, really. Always makes me think so deeply about Zerg. He has such a different approach to the matchup. To all these matchups, really. And his genius really does shine through a lot in ZVP and ZVT. I think that's the reason why he tries to avoid ZVZ, because he can't really show that spark of brilliance as much in that matchup. It's so much more about execution and just micro and quick decision making.
Yeah, and that's one of his weaknesses, honestly. Like, he is really good overall, but when it comes down to, like, it doesn't matter how good of a thought process you've got. It's just raw execution, micro, two monkeys in a phone booth fighting over a knife. Soulkey, you know, he's only a coin flip in most of those situations. Maybe a little bit better off than that. So he knows that's his weak spot, which is why he swapped out Light with Hero and simplified that group stage and only had 3 Terrans to prepare for. Definitely a wise decision from him. You can see, you know, obviously you wouldn't want to just take the gamble and play your worst matchup and risk your tournament and your 4th consecutive win like that. Soulkey, I hope, can show us some pretty interesting games here today, because there's some players on maps like this where I always wonder, like, what's the optimal thing to go for here? And I think Soulkey is one of the few people that can show us like a flash tier level of preparation and thought process that other Zergs can't quite bring us.
Deja Vu, it's been a pretty Zerg unfavored map. A lot of Zerg losses on this map so far. So yeah, I'm curious to see how Soulkey plays this one out. If he's able to take a win here, I'm definitely going to be taking notes. He's gone for a 12 hatch this time, opting to get a little bit of an economic win here early, but taking a bit of a risk that there could be another 8 racks. So he's going to be happy seeing with that Overlord, no 8 racks on the way. Even if a bunker comes down here, he's not too worried about it. There is going to be a command center at this natural, and so not a lot of pressure can be actually pushed onto Soulkey early. He will be able to get that nice 251 layer, really looking for that concise layer timing, making sure that he's got it as quickly as possible to get these mutas across the map start dealing damage.
Yeah, his optimizations are usually on point. I see him hitting the 250 layer quite often as well. It's very difficult to do that. Not only do you need to mine these patches really efficiently and get them fully optimized, but you also have to make sure that you're hitting your gas timing perfectly, both in terms of when you're building the gas and when you're sending the drones to mine. You don't want to just wait for that visual cue of the gas actually finishing. You want to preemptively send the first 2 drones to mine it right before that point, so that they're instantly mining that gas. Because that's the thing that's going to be slowing down your spire timing on the ladder, guys. So if you're wondering why my muters always slightly slow, it's probably because you're not mining your gas quite as quick.
Yeah, and if you think it's easy, guys, go ahead and open up a custom game. Give it a try. See how many times it takes you to get down to a 2-minute 50 or a 2-minute 51 layer, and then try to do it in a real game and see how long it takes you to hit that. Because when the other things are going on, when you're checking for Marines coming out and naked Marines could be walking on the map, it just gets that much more complicated. A lot of lings being made here by Soulkey. He's thinking there might be a little weak point for Rush. You know, in that game when he went Lurker, Rush did push out even after scouting, even after scanning the natural and not seeing many drones. He still moved out with his Marines. So maybe Rush,
crazy,
yeah, maybe he senses that Rush is a little bit cavalier with these Marines and might make the same mistake again.
Yeah, he's looking for that. That's why we see extra speedlings waiting to pounce on that early naked Marine move out that Rush will sometimes like to pull the trigger on. At the very least, he will have more lings to deal with this move out. That's much more traditional at 4 minutes 50. Just putting on some pressure onto the Zerg, trying to force out a sunken response. This time, though, with the extra investment in speedlings, won't have to go down and throw those additional sunkens. This is one way you can bait the Marines out, is by not building any sunkens and having these lings hiding out on the map. So the Marines think there's just free game to go for, and like you can see now, the speedlings will get the value that they were looking for and clean up pretty much that entire bioforce. Firebat might be able to save this medic, but it doesn't matter. The damage is already done. He's taken the wind out of Rush's sails by getting value with these Zerglings and making it all the more harder for him to be able to fight off this Mutalisk timing that's going to be following up.
Rush is definitely going to have to build extra turrets now. Make sure that he's got more than enough to deal with this upcoming harassment. Now, Soulkey did sacrifice quite a few drones to make this amount of early lings. He didn't have to make the sunken colony, though, and so he will be able to come across with a pretty good amount of pressure and have a decent economy behind this. You can see he's only got 3 drones mining minerals there. That's with that 4th drone mining, just barely able to get enough mineral income to get a 3rd base online, but it's not much different from a Mutalisk all-in. When you've got this little amount of drones, you really are relying on some damage here, and so he's coming in, just taking some trades initially with these Marines, picking off quite a few. He's lost to Mutalisk already, though, and lings are just going to run right past the bunker. Oh my goodness. SCV, though, on the turret is absolute brilliance, though. He's going to keep that alive for a lot longer. All right, getting on top of this high ground, though. Soulkey taking over the barracks positioning. Oh, man, this is getting a little bit scary here. I don't know if any more lings can run by. I don't know if there's any Marines in the bunker, actually, Xun. Did he take them all out?
Only one are left in there, I think, so this is really rough for him. There's that last Marine coming in to try and help out a little bit. He has to leapfrog turrets to defend these barracks, but there's still these 2 lings causing a thorn in his side. He's trying to take out these lings with the SCV so that he can then use turrets to resecure his production zone. He might just want to lift up these barracks and float them to the left. He's going to just tap out instead. GG is called, and going to be Soulkey racing ahead with the lead, consolidating his position, taking it 3-1 and putting himself on game point to win the series. Looking pretty unfazed, all things considered. It actually doesn't look like he's too happy with himself. Like, he's winning games like that, and he's almost like kind of like, hang on a minute, I didn't play that as well as I could have. He's like kind of dwelling on his own optimizations and navigating his own. He even looked a little bit off at the start of the game, by the way, when he was taking that 12 hatch. Like he was tilting his head to the side, like he was annoyed with his own mineral optimizations or something. Like, he's such a perfectionist in his play that it's not about winning the game anymore. It's about playing as perfectly as possible.
I don't know if you can read that much into his face there, Xun, but I look at what Soulkey was expressing there, and I think that's what you get. You know what I mean? He's looking at the screen. Rush, you move out with those Marines early. You don't scan the natural, and you don't, you're too cavalier with these early pushouts. He's just gonna take advantage, and the follow up there was perfect. Rush didn't build the 2nd turret on top of his barracks, and so he just takes complete control of that area. Yeah, you really do have to build those extra turrets. If you lose that first group of Marines, that first group of bio, you won't have enough to deal with the follow-up. And it seems like Rush, I mean, he's just not, he didn't respect Soulkey with these Marine move-outs this series so far. He just keeps moving out and getting surrounded by Lings, and he just can't win from a position like that. It's so hard to take it home, really. He's got to give Soulkey some more respect. We're going on to Death Valley, guys. Here he is, Rush and Soulkey jumping into this map number 6. Excuse me, map number 5. Let's get it going. Here it is, what we've been waiting for. Death Valley, Soulkey, top left, Rush, bottom right.
I mean, I'm just excited that we get to see this game set. Yeah, what I was saying about the facial expressions is because Soulkey made the exact same facial expression at the start of the game before anything had really happened, just with his own timings and optimizations. Looked like he was a bit displeased with himself. Does seem like the only times he has any emotional reaction is to his own imperfections rather than what his enemies are able to do against him. We'll have to wait and see if he's got something really special planned for this map. This was his pick, and he might have a real treat in store for us. A really early 9 drone scout coming out for him at the bare minimum here. So I'm curious to see what the game plan is going to be from Soulkey. We could see absolute shenanigans from him. At the very least, going to be able to harass the SCV that's building this wall in and checking for an early gas timing from Rush if that's going to be the play.
Yeah, just getting over here and seeing what the build is going to be from Rush is kind of nice. The 9 scout gives you some control and some opportunity to harass things, slow things down for the Terran player. Of course, it is quite an investment sending out that early drone, but as long as you're forcing workers not to mine and you're slowing things down, it's totally worth it. Oh my god, being a little bit
so close,
crazy with that SCV. Fighting for a long time there, almost gets the moving shot, but Rush able to save that for now, and he's put quite a bit of damage on this. Now you can make a extractor and cancel it to get the health back on that drone and just keep being annoying with it. Seems like Rush wants to hop over an SCV and go for a CC first, so he is going to be able to hop that over. Oh my gosh, look at this. Trying to hop over the drone as well. Yeah, the drone's going to hop over too. And now he can't take this.
This is crazy. I mean, this is just great planning from Soulkey. Not only blocking the potential barracks from going down early, but then blocking the 14 CC possibility. Forces Rush to just throw down a belated barracks. This isn't even a build that Rush is doing.
It's a CC.
Oh, that's CC?
Yeah, he's throwing down a CC up there. He wasn't able to put it on the low ground, but he'll put it up here and then mine out the minerals from the top side. It's not the end of the world, but it's still very annoying. This is kind of a crazy move from Soulkey. Pretty funny to see.
Yeah, it's going to be a 3 hatch before gas as well from him. Really lovely to see Soulkey utilizing the initial drone scout so effectively like that. I do like going for 9 scout, especially on these 2-player maps, as can really control the game state and be super annoying to the Terran player and utilize your mechanical advantages and task switching ability. We'll have to see if there's anything that Rush can do to throw back some punches Soulkey's way going into this early mid-game phase, but so far it seems like Soulkey's getting the better of him.
What do you think on this map? We've already got the gas. Is it going to be CC first into mech? That's a pretty strong play.
I just don't think so, because this map, like the mobility of the mech will be so easily exploited. So I'm not too sure that's the best of plans for him. I think a 1-1-1 into Valkyrie or something like that would be a bit of a safer choice.
You might be right. Let's see what Rush thinks is the right choice here. Is going to be landing that CC now, and a layer is on the way. So Soulkey going to be able to mine out those minerals on the left-hand side. He's already got this right-hand side mining 3 hatch to follow up this 9 drone scout. It's a very good play when you see the CC first. You can absolutely get away with this, and there's not really much Rush can do to actually punish this. He's just going to be looking for, yeah, there it is. I knew it.
You're right, sir.
Aha! Okay.
You're right.
Mech play off of the CC first.
This is really cool. We don't usually see mech that often in TVZ. I'm happy to see it. I didn't think this would be a super good choice with the lack of mobility and like 2 lanes to worry about. Seems like though Rush wants to fall back on this game plan. Might be a good way of trying to get the better of Soulkey. If Soulkey doesn't fully expect this and thinks it's just some kind of 1-1-1 play into Valkyrie, could catch him off guard. Is having to make a sunken colony at both locations as well to defend against any potential vulture run-by timing. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game ends up panning out for both players. I've never really seen mech on a map like this before, so I'm really curious how Rush is going to navigate.
Well, you know what? Soulkey can only take 1 extra base on the right-hand side, so maybe Rush just kills his own assimilators and, you know, cuts that off. Oh, God, these Lings, hold on. Ling's getting in here. Will be able to come up into the main, but there are vultures alive now, so he gets in, sees the double factory. Now Soulkey knows. Maybe he just cuts off the right-hand side of the map and then focuses all his attention on meching the left-hand side. And just let Soulkey take that 1 base, because he definitely can't take the base that's closest to Rush. That gas is way too close. You can even hit the seats or hit the hatchery from the high ground. So, you know, just give up that 1 extra base and then start to kind of dominate here on the left-hand side. Let's see how this goes, though. Maybe Soulkey gets a really easy 4th base, super quick on this right-hand side.
It's a beautiful scout from Soulkey to know this vulture run-by is coming in. He's got the evolution chamber block on behind the gas, as well as a lot of zerglings to body block those vultures from getting in and getting anything done. Usually the advantage of going for this mech play with the fast vultures is you're denying the 3rd base timing from the zerg, but in this case Soulkey's already got his 3rd gas online. That's why I wasn't too sure about this mech play even being that viable, but seems like Rush has got some kind of game plan set in motion that might be able to still get a win here. It just seems to me that he's behind the curve in every metric. Like usually you're slowing down the 3rd base timing and you're controlling the game state a little bit with these vultures, but in this situation Soulkey's already got 3 bases fully saturated and operational. I just don't know how this game is going to go Rush's way.
He's going to loop all the way around. He could deny the 4th. In fact, Soulkey going up that direction right now with the drone. He won't see it, though. Soulkey gonna get this online, man. He is gonna get so many bases up here. The Lings are heading over towards this ramp. Gonna be able to catch that 1 vulture. No problem getting rid of that. And so Rush gets no damage out of this, and Soulkey's on 3 bases. Yeah, it's looking pretty dire here. Even with the CC first into mech, I don't know if it's going to be strong enough to hold off the amount of mutas that Soulkey can bring to the table.
Oh, don't worry, Saiyan. It was fake mech the entire time. He's actually going into bio. This was just a trick all along. He's tricked Soulkey. He's tricked us.
He's just throwing down barracks. Does have that +1 upgrade on the way for his engineering bay. Just going to be holding off the initial vultures with that play, I guess, and then going into a ton of marine medic with these Goliaths. The Goliaths are going to be helpful in pushing away these mutas, but he needs to get in here and actually find out that this is what's happening so that he can start to transition into Hydra. He gets close enough, he sees the barracks, he's immediately going to throw down a Hydra. Oh, he's already got one. Never mind. Starts the lurker upgrade and he's good to go.
But versus mech, you generally speaking do still make this Hydra den fairly early on, just to make sure you can transition if need be. He was coming in here to check, is this going to be a 2-factory tech mech, or is this going to be like a 5-factory Goliath? Against the 5-factory Goliath, you stay on mass muta. But I think it's going to be a 2-fact tech transition. You quickly switch into Hydras right away, which is why you already had that den place, which is going to help him out a lot, because now we can get that lurker aspect just a little bit, teeny tiny bit earlier, as well as potentially getting this 4th gas online and a hive transition. So Soulkey's going to be feeling pretty good about this game state overall. I'm not so sure how Rush is going to navigate this into a favorable position. Soulkey making his way into the main base, sniping off one of these Goliaths before tuck-tailing and running again. With this economy that Soulkey's been able to get early game, I'm a little bit concerned for Rush going forward.
Well, with this build, Rush is going to have a pretty big timing attack. Is possibly going to be able to come over here and deal a lot of damage, but we'll see if those lurkers come out in time. If lurkers get out on the map, it's going to be so much harder to break this, and so he's got to hit that timing perfectly, get in there right before all that's done. The Goliaths do their work on those mutas, and the Marines kind of give them cover, add on that extra DPS. There is burrow here as well. Look at that Ling burrowed right in the front. He's going to see this push out coming, and Soulkey might just dive in here and build sunken colonies back at home. He can absolutely do that as well.
Right, there is not much defending back at home. Just a couple of turrets and a few units out of the rally point. It actually will force Rush to come back and defend against this. So it's a nice little play here from Soulkey. Sandbagging the push and threatening the counterattacks like this will make it so hard for Rush to come out onto the map convincingly. It's one of the reasons why I didn't think that mech was such a good choice here. I just don't understand how he's going to utilize the lack of mobility and actually be okay against Soulkey. Soulkey can just keep punishing him every time he tries to move out. It seems like eventually there will be enough units that Rush will be able to start to come out onto the map. But he's been on 2 base for a very long time. He's even going to close in Rush by starting to kill these assimilators, so Rush can't easily take this other base as is natural, so that he won't have an easy 3rd base, and will have to keep expanding horizontally out onto the map and making himself even more exposed.
Yeah, this stops the Goliaths from moving into the top right part of the map, but the Marines can still slip through there. Looks like he's going to dive in again. There's only 2 turrets there on the high ground. Some tanks are starting to pop out as well. Rush is going to go for this push even before he has a critical mass of tanks. So we'll see if he's able to bust through that natural. He's coming back. He's actually baited in a bunch of these mutas. Wait a second. Soulkey not paying attention there for a moment. Actually losing some of these mutas back at home. He's got lurkers, though. Lurkers are done. So, you know, if that original push that Rush had put together before the backstab came in, if that had gone off, he probably would have gotten there before the lurkers were done. But that little delay tactic from Rush actually slowed, or from Soulkey actually slowed down Rush quite a bit. And now he's coming out with the 3 tank push. Can he actually still make this work? There shouldn't be Dark Swarm in time for this, but it's still going to be a lot of lurkers and mutas to deal with. And oh, there is a Defiler. Good God, Defiler is already out here. Dude, Soulkey's so good.
It's crazy. He's got everything right now. Every tech under the sun. Been churning away on 4 bases worth of economy this entire time as well. These other bases are a little bit lower in terms of their yield. There's only 1,200 count on this the expansion behind the Troy gate. Soulkey going to be coming in for a tactical snipe on the gas and limiting the potential of production from Rush. Now he's only on 300 gas a minute in the main base and will eventually become mined out the next 5 minutes. Oh, he's losing the tank as well to the tentacles of that sunken colony. That's really unfortunate for Rush. Like, 2 tanks don't have... Oh, no. And he gets 2 lurkers borrowed under Dark Swarm out here. Everything is going right for Soulkey. Rush is in so much trouble.
I don't know what to say, Xun. Rush is in such a bad position now. Soulkey is absolutely dominating. Absolutely just crushing Rush here. He's completely controlled in this game. The CC first mech, it usually gives you so much momentum against Zerg, but Soulkey just so quickly taking that 3rd and going directly into a 4th now. He's got so much economy rolling and getting all of his tech out and having so many mutas. Usually you can't have it all, Xun. You can't have great economy, huge army, and tech all at the same time, but Soulkey somehow managed to put that together. It's kind of unreal.
Yeah, it is really crazy what he's been able to do. Usually you're picking 2 of those 3 things to specialize in and playing catch up on the 3rd thing as an afterthought. Not in this game. Soulkey's been able to really precisely navigate the game state at every junction to find the maximum amount of juice that can be squeezed out of the orange. This is kind of crazy what we are seeing from him. He's so good at utilizing all the tools at his disposal, and now is starting to even out on supply at 145 at 13.5 minutes. Is kind of crazy the production he's been able to get online. Rush is trying to desperately double expand. Even a Zergling going to be coming here and trying to slow that down and get a snipe on this SCV to make it just a little bit worse of a game state for Rush to work with. This is kind of really impressive stuff. Finally, we see some mines coming out to try and help screen against Soulkey's breakout attempts, but I don't think it's going to be enough. We are going to be seeing a more fuller mech transition as the barracks start to lift off and provide scouting information. But I don't think there's going to be enough production here for Rush to break through the lines of Soulkey.
Yeah, we've already seen this play out before. Soulkey's so good at just keeping Dark Swarm going everywhere, having the Scourge present to deny the irradiates on those defilers over and over again. Just keeping control on this Terran army and not allowing it to pressure him. We're going to see a big dive into the main base now, even though there are some science vessels out on the map. Well, that's where they are. They're out on the map. They're not back here at home to actually deal with this, and Lings are going to get through. He didn't kill that assimilator, and so this has all been opened up. Tons of Lings here in the main. This is really going to put the hurt on Rush. So many Lings are coming in here right now. That's crazy. Yeah. These irradiates are going to get insane value, actually clearing out a lot of these mutas nearly for free, but he's even going to lose this armory. The armory going to go down is so big.
That's so huge, losing an upgrade time. He's now stuck on 1-1 upgrades on these mech units. That's so problematic. He has to turn tail with some of his bio units that were still out on the map in their remnants to try and come back here and defend this. Soulkey is just doing cleanup on R5, completely ravaging the infrastructure of Rush. This isn't necessarily the coffin nail that's going to be closing out the game, but it might as well be. A lot of Terran players would probably be thinking about GGing out right about now. There is still a little bit of playable wiggle room for Rush to work with, but this is such a large amount of damage that he's been able to have to weather, and there's more and more Zerglings streaming into the main base with some Dark Swarms already in position as well. He's still going to trade out cost efficiently, completely kill off so many of the supply depots and the factories that are producing. Rush is completely in disarray. He's doing a counterattack right now, trying to see if he can break in to Soulkey's natural 4th location, but it's not going to be enough. GG is cold, and Soulkey is going to be breaking through to that semi-finals match against Snow after winning 4-1 against Rush. Wow, look at the slump in the chair.
What a mistake there, not killing that extra assimilator. What can even fit through there from a mech army? Absolutely nothing. And he leaves it open anyway. Soulkey takes full advantage of that. I think I mentioned right at the early parts of that game when we saw the mech transition happening, just cut off the right-hand side by killing those assimilators and then taking over the left. Rush absent-mindedly going about this play here, not closing off the backside, and Soulkey just ramming through with a ton of Lings. Dude, his economic advantage was so massive. It was going to be a bit hard to close that game, but he found the perfect solution, just diving in through that opening with a massive amount of Lings, just clearing out everything. Really beautifully done by him. I think we're going to get a replay of this. All the mutas flying in and then the Lings running by into the base here. Yeah, he's pulling it all together. He sees that the vessels are way out on the map, not ready to deal with these mutas, and he's got all these Lings set up at the Nidus Canal. He's just sending them through and shift A clicking everything down to the main base, and in a long conga line, all this stuff making its way up into that main base, just crushing all of this production. And it is true, even with mech, once you get on top of the Terran production, things do spiral out of control, and it's very hard to come back.
Yeah, I mean, usually Terran have the most potential at holding the line in situations like this, but Soulkey makes it look easy. He's just such a professional in dealing out damage at the most critical of occasions. He just couldn't get back up this ramp to defend. Soulkey was just pouncing on him at the right time and getting this Defiler down here undeterred as well to keep supporting his Zerglings while also training more and more units to come through these Nidus canals to keep the Rampage online for as long as possible, and just begging Rush to try and do something about it, and Rush was unable to do so. Just an absolute masterclass in Zerg versus Terran from Soulkey in this series. I did think that this series was going to go something like this, a 4-1 or a 4-2 victory for Soulkey. It's unfortunate that we're not going to be seeing him knocked out just yet, but Snow is going to be waiting for him in that semi-finals, round of 4 bracket. Maybe Snow can do it. I mean, he has been playing a lot better with his Zerg versus his Protoss versus Zerg lately, so I do think there's going to be about a 20-30% chance for Snow to take this game down, but Soulkey's looking so strong, man.
Yeah, it would be insane to bet against Soulkey. Again, the over-under on this series probably similar to the over-under for Snow versus Soulkey.
Right.
You gotta put your money on Soulkey, dude. He's already beaten the Snow so many times in the past. What has he learned from those series aside from Soulkey's just completely unpredictable?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what Snow can do to prepare for that match. I mean, what practice partner do you get to emulate Soulkey's play and how he thinks and how he prepares? It's going to be seriously difficult for Snow to get the necessary practice to even deal with that. Maybe he needs to go and talk to the likes of Hero. Hero's a very insightful guy. Effort as well could provide some insight into how to deal with Zergs. He could maybe talk to a few Zerg players about that. That could give him some insights into how to deal with Soulkey. But honestly, this is not going to be easy for Snow. He's gonna be up against it just like Rush was, and we saw how that ended up panning out. Um, yeah, it really does seem like the only person that Soulkey needs to worry about is the other Zergs and himself, and being able to perform at the highest level. On a good day, Soulkey seems unbeatable.
It's crazy the difference between, the second best Zerg player in the world and the best Zerg player in the world. He's like leaving everyone behind in the dust. You're totally right. Finding a practice partner is going to be insanely hard because everyone else is just a tier below this guy. He's set himself up for a nice four-peat, getting another uh, title under his belt is an awesome way to lead into our next season where Flash will be coming back. Is that the only player who can take him down? I don't know. We've still got a few more games to go, guys. We've still got 2 more series where potentially we could get a different ASL winner, but it's just looking so Soulkey favorite. It's Soulkey versus the world right now, guys, and
Right.
Soulkey is winning. It's kind of like Flash versus the world where he, won 5 out of 9 tournament or 5 out of 8 uh, ASL titles, something like that. Just had a winning record against the ASL. Crazy, crazy levels of amazing play.
Yeah, if somehow Soulkey does manage to take down this title fourth consecutively, I think we do have to start referring to him as a bonjour. Bonjour is basically anyone that's been dominant in the scene for a prolonged period of time, to simplify. So, kind of hard to deny him that title if he is able to take it down again. There is still a chance that some of these last remaining players can defeat him. We've got Best versus Light. One of those two could be able to take him down in that final spot. Light probably would have a really good chance at it. I think Light is one of the only guys that will not be intimidated by Soulkey out of every single pro gamer on the planet. Light has his own aura and his own energy to work with. That would be kind of a clash of the titans I would like to see as well. But I do think that Best is going to get the better of him in that series. His Pros versus Terran is just so monstrous. That's the series you'll be seeing next, by the way, guys. It's going to be Best versus Light next Monday, live on souplive.com/SCTVEN. Please don't miss it.
Yeah, that's going to be a great series, by the way, guys. In the interim between this ASL and the next, we've got KCM coming out on Friday. Definitely check out our English cast. That's on my channel. Saying KCM on YouTube. Xun and I cast that every single week. It's been about 2 weeks though since we've been having a bit of a break since the last season, but new season starting up this week, guys, on Friday. So definitely check that out as well.
Yeah, would love to see you guys there. That's our bread and butter, saying like we love to cast Casey, and that's a really good series to watch. If you guys haven't yet checked that out, please don't miss that as well. There's just so much StarCraft to pick and choose from. We're kind of spoiled for choice here. It does seem like we're in a final golden age of this great game and scene. I'm really stoked to see where things end up being. For the time being, we might be seeing Soulkey reigning supreme as like the all-knowing emperor that just seems to be unable to be dismantled. But who knows? Next season, Flash's wrists might be screwed on tightly, and he might be able to dismantle Soulkey. I imagine that Soulkey's motivations are going to be running a little bit dry as the seasons progress. He won't be able to play quite at 100% of his ability forever. Eventually, he's going to slack a little bit, and these other guys are going to be hungry enough to pounce on him when that time comes around.
I hope Flash got a really good surgeon, the best one in South Korea, working on his arms, and his wrist. Going to be brought back to 100% by our next season. Not sure if he's going to participate in that, but we're all expecting it. We're all anticipating it, and
yeah,
we'll see if he's able to bring it back and actually take Soulkey to task in that next season.
I hope so. I mean, I would like to see a little bit of variety in ASL. I do think that Soulkey is just such a favorite at this present time. The last three remaining players, Best, Light, and Snow, all have a fairly good shot at beating him. I would put Best and Snow at about 20 to 30% chance, Light at somewhere about 30-35% chance at taking him down. Still going to be very Soulkey favored matchups no matter what occurs, but who knows? This could be the season where Soulkey gets dismantled, guys.
Snow's been looking fantastic. He's going to be Soulkey's next opponent. Best versus Light's going to be an awesome matchup as well. So much to look forward to right now, guys. We've really enjoyed bringing you guys this live cast, and I don't ever want it to end. Honestly, we're getting right down to the end of it, and that's very exciting. But also, I want this to go on forever. It's a little bit sad that we're going to be coming to the finals here in just a couple more weeks. You can see there on the 12th, Monday, Best versus Light, 13th. Tuesday, Snow versus Soulkey. That's at 7 p.m. Korean Standard Time. And then on the 25th, the next week afterwards, that Sunday, we're going to have the finals, which should be absolutely incredible. These are going to be some great matchups, Xun. I'm really looking forward to these.
Sam. Oh, yeah, it's been a real blast to bring you guys these great games at ASL. We've had probably one of the better seasons we've had in a long, long time. And once more, if you are watching on YouTube, we do cast these games live, so you can watch them even sooner at that Korean, like 6:37 p.m. time at souplive.com/SCTVEN. Don't miss it, guys. There's going to be some epic round of 4 games coming up.
All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you next week.